said to her that I was filing for divorce, and she was upset, absolutely. Um, I think she knew it was coming, that I can live out here on my own, I can make it out here on my own, and make a success of myself, and find the right person to share that success with. I mean, the interesting thing is we're a little different. I'm definitely more of an extrovert. She's a little bit more of an introvert. But when we met, it worked. I mean, for me, I'll be honest. Every time I take off, I'm nervous. I still get nerves. I still get those jitters. Once I'm up there, I'm fine usually. Turbulent air definitely throws me for a loop sometimes, especially when I'm alone. If it's just me up there, the nerves hit. It was both excitement and nerves. I mean, I was really nervous. And the interesting thing was he was not. I mean, I could tell he was not nervous at all. But this time we flew. We went to actually I was at Southwest Flight Center in Scottsdale, and they threw me the keys. It was an emotional experience for my dad, because that was the first time that I was able to take my dad up as a pilot. He was actually my first passenger. I didn't want to just be not necessarily a billionaire, although that would be nice, but I wanted more. I wanted happiness. I wanted wealth. I wanted more. There were a lot of things that led to the decision, and I knew she was bringing me down. I knew that I was destined for more and I should have been treated better than what I knew I was being treated as.
I am excited today to have my friend, a fellow Angel Flight West volunteer pilot, Rob Clarfield. Amelia Earhart said, "The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. The fears are paper tigers. You can do anything you decide to do." That, I think, exemplifies what I know and have come to appreciate about Rob. Rob, you have done a lot of different things in your life, and I'm excited for us to explore those things with our audience today as they get to know you and as I get to know you better. When you listen to that, you can do anything you decide to do, what comes to your mind?
Well, I would have to say what comes to my mind there is my dad. So my mom and dad instilled in me, to reach for the stars. That was my dad's favorite saying, reach for the stars. And there are a lot of things in life that I knew that I wanted to do, and I'm not even close to being done yet. I mean, I'm 55 years old, and I still have so many things that I want to accomplish. Um, and my dad said to me, never stop dreaming, and always make those dreams a reality. And that's what I've been doing since day one, is making my goals a reality.
What do you remember? When do you remember hearing that first from your dad, or at least when it really stuck the first time? And was there something that you were working on at that time, as a kid or as a young adult, that really impacted you and motivated you to push harder?
Yeah, it was actually so my dad was a computer programmer and worked for Pfizer Drug Company, and I wanted to be a computer programmer. And that was my big thing. And I was going to school and learning computer programming, and I had this professor that told me, I was really bad at math, and said that I would never make it as a computer programmer.
Mm.
And I came home and I told my dad, and he said, "Well, reach for it. Just prove them wrong." And I did. I proved them wrong. I became a computer programmer. I got my bachelor's degree in information technology. I got my master's degree. Um, and, got a job as a computer programmer, and then moved into IT, project management, and became a project manager. And, from there it was just keep reaching for the stars and keep going for what I want to do.
Rob, I love that. I think that just about every success that I've had in life, there's been somebody along the way that said you can't do that or that will never work. Um, have there been other times in your life when somebody's told you that, where that'll never work, you can't do that, or was that one and done for you? Because for me, it seems like that's happened often enough to where I almost look for it and to know that I'm headed the right direction.
No, it actually has happened a lot. This is actually my second marriage, and been married 25 years now to my wife Kim. And before that, my former wife, she kind of didn't have the same goals as me, and I always wanted to, go for my college degree. At that time in life, I only had an associate's degree, and made me feel like, I'm not gonna be able to do that. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
be able to get my degree. And then when I met my wife, everything just changed completely. My second wife, and got my bachelor's degree, went on, got my master's degree, and every time I do something, whether she agrees with me or not, she's always 100% behind me. You know, um, when I wanted to resign from IT and retire from IT and become a realtor full time, she's like, go for it. You got this. And did that. Same thing with when I wanted to fly, when I wanted to get my pilot's license. You know, she was 100% behind me. It took a little while for her to fly with me before I get her to fly because she's not a big flyer, but now she flies with me, and it's a great feeling, definitely.
Now, I've heard over and over again just people say that the biggest life hack is marrying the right person. And it sounds like for you, that really has been true, that a change in that relationship has really been a propellant for you.
Oh my God. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, the interesting thing is we're a little different. I'm definitely more of an extrovert. She's a little bit more of an introvert, but when we met, it worked. I mean, I saw her. We were going together at a friend's party and asked her out immediately. And this was just like, immediately. And the first thing she said to me was no. And I was like, well, okay, there's a challenge here. And by the end of the night, I wore her down and went out with me. And 6 months later, we were engaged. And 6 months later, we were married
Wow.
and just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary.
Oh, that's amazing. I want to rewind a little bit because, we went from in the wrong marriage, the right marriage, and success that's happened along the way. But divorce can be a really difficult thing and can be hard for some people to recover from. What was that experience like for you?
Wow. That was the toughest decision that I ever made. I was living in
Mm.
Arizona at the time. My family was in Florida. My brother was in New York, so it was just me out there in Arizona. And didn't, have anybody out there, and, spoke to my parents about it, and, um, went through with it, had them behind me 100%. Had two really good friends actually that were out here, that helped me get through it as well. And originally I was actually thinking about moving back to Florida to be near my family.
Mm.
But I realized that if I did that, she won,
Mm.
and couldn't let that happen. No way, could not let that happen. Like, I have to succeed out here myself, and I really loved it out here in Arizona. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna have to make this work, and you know, um, show not just her or my family or anybody, but myself that I can live out here on my own. I can make it out here on my own, and make a success of myself and find the right person to share that success with.
Yeah. What made that decision difficult? I mean, I'm assuming that there were some challenges in the relationship, but I was just at lunch actually with a good friend and having this conversation. He's in a difficult relationship. Things haven't been going well for he and his wife, and he doesn't want to be there, but it's a difficult decision. They have children. What were some of the things that made that decision difficult for you? And then I would also love to know that after making that decision, what was difficult about post divorce. I think, as I watch people go through those things, those are two periods where it seems to be the most difficult, both right in the making the decision and just after, when you find yourself out of the relationship and now your whole world has turned around. What was that like for you?
I mean, there were definitely, bad days from, for a long time. For months. Couldn't sleep, depressed. Um, Felt like, I looked at like, my parents' marriage and my brother's marriage, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
why am I not getting that? Why am I not getting, they seem so happy, everything's going great, um, and I'm going through hell. um,
Yeah.
so, you know, but there were a lot of things that led to the decision, um, and I knew she was bringing me down. I knew that I was destined for more and I should have been treated better than what I knew I was being treated as. And, you know, said to her that I was filing for divorce. And, she was upset, absolutely. Um, but I think she knew it was coming. I do. I think she knew it was coming. Um, and, have not heard from her in a long time.
I find it interesting, Rob, that it seems like from a child watching your dad be a computer programmer involved with IT, you always wanted to do that. Um, did you become dissatisfied with that, or what led to the change of going into real estate? Because, here's something you'd always wanted to do. So I'm wondering if the reality of doing it was not what you thought it would be, or that just ran its course and life offered something different. Walk me through that period of your life.
So, you know, I always loved what my dad did. I always loved computer programming. I did. It was, I still remember to this day, getting my first computer, my Commodore VIC-20 computer, which I'm really dating myself here, but that was my first computer, and I've got pictures of me, typing in my first program and, writing in all these lines of code, and then at the end typing run, and it says out of memory. So I remember those days. Um, but I also remembered, like, as I became a programmer and working with even a project manager, I was always getting, the 2%, 3% raises, and, the annual reviews and the bonuses and all that stuff, and working for other people. And I always, I wanted more. I didn't want to just be not necessarily, a billionaire, although that would be nice, but I wanted more. I wanted happiness, I wanted wealth, I wanted more. And I knew that working, the standard job, I did not think I was going to get it. Or if I
Mm.
did, it was going to be a long time in the making. And but I also remember, growing up, you know, the importance of, a paycheck coming in every 2 weeks. That's how I was brought up, have that paycheck come in every 2 weeks. And when I decided to become a realtor, you know, you don't have that paycheck coming in every
There's
two
not a
weeks.
paycheck every
Right.
2 weeks.
Granted, yeah, I did have my wife is she at the time was working for Equifax as a project manager also. So yeah, it was nice for the first couple of years. We had her salary, to help us over the humps while I built up the my real estate company. Well, built up as being a realtor, And then when I started my own brokerage, which we'll talk about later, um, getting that business going so that she could later on um, join the brokerage as well because she is also a realtor.
Was there a point in that transition where you thought you were crazy? Like,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I was like, and there are times even now, where I look like, okay, I didn't, there was no deal that went through this month, or, okay. I mean, I'm always making sure that, we're fine financially. But yeah, I mean, there are still times that I get a little nervous, definitely. But I think that's good. That keeps me fueled. It keeps me wanting to do more and, make sure that we're financially stable and beyond. And that's the big word there is beyond. I don't want to just be financially stable. I want to be beyond financially stable.
yeah. So when you, yeah, and I don't know the answer to this. I think we've probably talked about it, and I'm not remembering right now. But did you start working as a realtor while you still held your other job, or was it a straight break and you went from a paycheck every other week to now I've got to sell something to bring some money in?
No, so actually what I did was, so I had my real estate license for years because I was looking to do some rentals and, I wanted to know what I was doing. So and I wanted to understand real estate. So I got my real estate license years ago, over 15 years ago. And I was doing it part-time a little bit, helping friends, buy and sell. And I got really busy at one point, and my wife actually got her license to help me out part-time. And then it wasn't until recently, it's been now, I mean, I've only been a full-time realtor going on about 4 years right now. And one year I worked for a brokerage and gained my experience, and then got my broker's license and started a brokerage with my business partner, whose name is also Rob. And we've started building that brokerage up to 18 agents right now, and do residential, commercial, wholesale. We do a lot of flips, and it's just been growing, thankfully. And we actually just getting ready. We just opened up a brokerage, Art of Real Estate in Tennessee. So I'm heading out to Tennessee actually in June to do the groundbreaking.
Wow, that's incredible, Rob.
Thanks.
Um, so I want to transition now to flying a little bit. It's a passion that you and I both share. When did that bug bite you? And how did you go from, wow, I'd really like to do this, to actually taking the leap? Because for me, like, I'd wanted to fly since I was probably 6 years old, and it wasn't until 35 years later that I allowed myself to do that. So for you, what was that journey?
Very similar. My dad was in the Air Force, not a flyer, but loved flying. And we used to go in New York. He would take me to every single air show. We both just had, you know, a love of flying. And I probably since the age of about 13 wanted to fly, wanted to get my pilot's license. Didn't know if I wanted to be an actual airline pilot, but definitely wanted to fly. And, my dad would always take me. We'd go on these, like on a T6 Texan. We'd go on, he'd always, get us a flight, get me a flight, a discovery flight and this and that. But, it was very, very expensive. And actually, like you, I didn't start flying until I got my certificate I was about 46 when I got my certificate to fly. And it was really exciting because didn't want my dad to know that I was learning how to fly. I wanted to surprise him. And my flight school, we basically, my dad came out to Arizona to visit us, and it was, typically he would come out here and we would take him, I would take him up flying, with another pilot to fly us, and take us on a tour. But this time we flew. We went to actually I was at Southwest Flight Center in Scottsdale, and they threw me the keys, and it was an emotional experience for my dad because that was the first time that I was able to take my dad up as a pilot. And he was actually my first passenger
Wow.
when I was flying, and flew out to Payson actually for our first flight.
Oh, that's awesome, Rob. What what was that sensation for you? Was there any extra worry? Was it just excitement? I mean, taking your first passenger and having it be your dad is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it was both excitement and nerves. I mean, I was really nervous. And the interesting thing was he was not. I mean,
Hmm.
I could tell he was not nervous at all. Me, I was like, I had that, kung fu grip on the yoke. I was like, oh my God, I made sure like, the weather was perfect, everything was like perfect when we took off and landed. Um, but yeah, having him as my first passenger was an exhilarating experience. And he's flown with me a few times since then. Now, when I go out to Florida, I usually rent a plane and I fly him around out in Florida. And it was great, So it's a great experience now. And now it's like, I have no problem flying with him.
That's awesome. Has your dad ever had the desire to become a pilot, or is he just content to ride along with you?
So my dad actually he's always had the content to learn how to fly. And he's taken lessons. He's been studying for a long time to actually take the ground school test. My dad's going to turn 90
Wow.
um in January. And I at this point I think he's just happy, flying with me. Um but he is still to this day studying for the ground school. He wants to pass the exam.
Hmm.
He doesn't have to get his pilot's license, but he wants to pass the exam. So I try to help him out, actually via Zoom and other things, um, to to get him just to pass that exam, to pass the FAA written exam.
That's awesome, Rob. What I think anybody who's flown or is flying, there are times when you feel really confident. There's other times when you might be really scared. Have there been any adventures in your experience flying where you did feel concerned or something didn't go quite right, where you were nervous more than usual?
Yes, definitely. I mean, for me, I'll be honest. Every time I take off, I'm nervous. I still get nerves. I still get those jitters. Once I'm up there, I'm fine usually. Turbulent air definitely throws me for a loop sometimes, especially when I'm alone. If it's just me up there,
Yeah,
I the nerves hit. And not afraid to admit it, still working on Bravo transitions. Bravo transitions sometimes get me a little nervous,
sure.
especially if I, like immediately taking off from like Deer Valley into Phoenix because you got to do it pretty quick. And if they don't answer right away, I'm afraid I'm gonna break bust Bravo. So I, make that turn so I don't bust it. Um, but yeah, those are the times. Knock on wood, I haven't had any real emergency situations yet. Um, and hopefully, never will. But I'm sure as a pilot, unfortunately it'll happen. I'm sure, Um, but I have the training, so I'm sure it'll be good. Um, but yeah,
Rob, one of my great surprises with learning how to fly, because I did it purely for my own joy and the experience of doing it, something I always wanted to do. But one of the really great surprises was the accelerating factor that aviation has been in my business, in philanthropy, just about every area of my life. It's been an accelerating factor. How has flying and aviation impacted your life in ways that you didn't anticipate before you started flying?
so you know, a- when I started flying, you know, I I wanted to learn how to fly. That first, like my initial solo. I mean, that was the most exhilarating day of my life when I took off. And I remember even saying like to myself, I was in Glendale. It was my first flight, and yeah, I looked to my co-pilot seat, and there's nobody there. But I knew my dad was there with me when I was taking off, and you know, getting my pilot's license was a huge goal of mine. And what it's done is it's really helped me to not only, have my passion for aviation, which I'll have forever, um, but it's helped me build my career. It's, because I've been able to combine the love of aviation with the love of real estate. Great example is, on Saturday, I have an open house in Payson on one of my listings. I'm flying out there Saturday morning. I take a car from the FBO to my open house. I do my open house, and then I come, drive back to the airport, and I fly my plane home. I mean, what type of person can say that, you're taking your two loves and being able to, own my own plane and, be able to help people, buy and sell homes, which is my love, and fly an airplane. I mean, it's for me right now in this life, it's been a dream come true. Um, and to be able to fly on a minute's notice and be like, okay, after this, I'm gonna go fly to Sedona for lunch. It's not many people can do that, can say that they're gonna just hop in a plane and you know go to San Diego for the weekend. That's it's been a dream, and I look forward to every adventure that I have um, in life, and I just take it day by day. And you know, I love the fact that my wife is along the ride with me. She knows like to just buckle up and enjoy enjoy the journey because it's going to be a journey.
Yeah, we're still talking about aviation, or we're just talking about your life together, Rob?
Oh, we're talking
We're
about the life together. It's both. It's definitely both. Yeah. I mean, we just don't know what's going to be next one day after the other.
what so aviation has allowed you to expand your business and enjoy adventure. I love that too. I fly back and forth to San Diego at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, to further my business ventures there. And I feel the same way. I have this really unique opportunity where, at least for me, usually those flights involve bringing investors with me to come and see what we're doing. And so I get this really unique opportunity to provide an experience for some people that they've wanted to do their entire life and have never had the chance, meaning in aviation. And then combining that with, there's a lot of people that would love to invest in real estate, don't know how to get started. And so I get to combine those two dreams for people, which has been a really powerful experience. More powerful than that has been using aviation for a good cause. And I know there's several things that you are doing and have done. Can you walk through how you've been able to utilize aviation in philanthropy?
Yes. So, I mean, the big one for me is I just got myself set up now, obviously, with Angel Flight. That to me is going to be a really big one. I am really looking forward to flying with Angel Flight and giving back that way. I've also just got myself set up now with a company called Pilots for Paws. So taking dogs to new locations. So I'm going to be doing that as well. Um, and taking people up that have never flown before. Um, One of the things also I want to get involved in is Young Eagles program and being able to take kids flying for the first time. I had to build up my hours, so I finally have enough hours now for all of these things. So I'm I'm pretty excited. It's like I don't know which one to do first, but Angel Flight is definitely the number one that I really want to get more involved with. And my wife's very big with dogs. We have a couple of dogs, which I just heard in the background. Um, and I want to get involved more with dogs and helping dogs move to different locations if necessary to
And
find homes for.
for anybody who's listening that isn't familiar with Angel Flight West, will you just kind of tell what drew you to Angel Flight West, what the mission is there, and why that feels compelling to you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So, Angel Flight West allows anyone that is, needs medical care, but is maybe they have to go someplace like that's a 6 hour drive, and we can get them there in 2 hours via airplane. And these flights are all free. They're 100% free. It's the pilots, the volunteer pilots that volunteer their fuel, their airplane, whether they own it or rent it. Um, whether it's a child or an adult going for a cancer treatment or some type of surgery or pre-op or anything like that, any non-major emergency, Angel Flight can take them there. And there's over, I think, 2,000 volunteer pilots across the U.S., the West, Southwest, and West Coast. Um, and you know, that to me is, I mean, you can't give back better than that. I mean, these people, I mean, to save somebody, to save a child from like 6 hours of, in sitting in a car to 2 hours and giving them, that adventure of potentially, they've never flown in a small airplane before, giving them that ability and that journey and the excitement. I mean, there's no better feeling.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And I can't wait for you to have your first mission with Angel Flight West with the passenger. I know we're looking and planning on doing that together, and I'm super excited for that because I remember my first mission and the impact that it had on me to be able to get a young man in my plane who was battling cancer, he and his mom. And just like you said, their drive was 5.5 or 6 hours from where they lived to Phoenix Children's Hospital. And in my plane, it was an hour and 15 minutes. And you just can't measure the positive impact that that has on his recovery, on their financial situation, on her level of fatigue. It's just immeasurable what these flights can do. And for me, every time I have the opportunity of being someone in the plane, it's just a real recognition again of just how fortunate I am, how blessed I am to have been able to develop these skills, to be doing something that I love, and then be in a position to where I can use both of those things to be able to positively impact the life of not just the individual, but the family, is so powerful. And you and I were together recently in Sholo for an event for another one of the missions of Angel Flight West, which is relocation flights for victims of domestic violence and abuse. And I know for me, that was an impactful event. I would love to know some of the things that you learned and some of your takeaways, and if that, how that made you feel about your decision to fly with Angel Flight West. Because I know it was a difficult symposium that we were at, and I'll let you tell, what it was and what we were doing.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, that symposium, I mean, I knew that there was, there are some bad people out there. I knew that. But hearing it again and hearing about some of the stories there, I mean, there was a point where I actually had to walk out of the symposium and get my thoughts together. And I remember actually I walked out to where the exhibit area was from within inside the auditorium and called my wife and just needed to hear her voice and just be like,
Yeah.
I can't believe. And I just knew right there also that, this was the right choice for me. This was the right way for me to give back. The way for me, I mean, she couldn't wait for me to get my hours so I could, start doing this because she knew how important it is as a service, but how much I wanted it, how much I wanted to be able to do this. And I know my wife actually wants to get involved with it as well. So she's going to, you know, definitely get involved with it as well and join and, be my co-pilot, I guess, in some ways. But yeah, that was eye-opening. And, being able to take somebody from domestic violence into to another state, you know, to make sure that they're safe. I mean, how many people can do that? I mean, it's an amazing opportunity, and I can't wait to do it and,
Yeah.
do it as much as I can. Absolutely.
One of the last flights that I did was a domestic violence relocation flight. We were able to help a young lady get from Phoenix to, we ended up taking her into a city in Northern California. And, you know, even doing that, and then being at that symposium and hearing case studies of the awful things that people experience, whether they're victims of domestic violence and abuse, or they were also covering sex trafficking there. And I think my reaction was the same as yours. I think we know those things exist, but we don't often have to really face the reality of what that means for a person.
Right.
And I think hearing those personal accounts and the depravity was difficult, and informative, and certainly encouraged me in wanting to expand the efforts that we're both putting forth to do our little part in easing some of that human suffering with what we can do as pilots. And it sounds like you had the same reaction.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Rob, one of the things that I was impressed with while we were there, that didn't have anything to do with the symposium, but just as we were talking, you were talking about how you set goals. And I was impressed with the goals that you set for yourself each year. Can you just explain how you set those goals and the philosophy behind that?
Yeah. So I'm the type of person that when I set my mind to something, I can't just do it. There has to be a goal behind it. So when I got interested in, for example, like martial arts, yeah, I couldn't just do martial arts. If I was going to do martial arts, I had to start as, a white belt and go all the way through to black belt. And then, well, okay, now I'm a black belt. Well, now I want to be able to teach students this. So now I have to open up my own school. So I did. I opened up my own martial arts school, became a second degree black belt in what's called Kaju Kembo, which is a hybrid martial art consisting of karate, jiu-jitsu, kempo, and boxing. So it gives you your ground fighting and your stand-up fighting. So I did that for years. And then I started getting interested in working out. Well, I couldn't just work out. If I'm going to work out, there's got to be a goal. So the goal was to do a bodybuilding show, physique show. So worked out, got a trainer, went through the entire meal preps and everything, and did a physique show in 2019. Did two actually, one in 2018, and then my last one I did was in 2019, and did a physique show, which was again my wife, like, she didn't like it, but she was at the show supporting me 100% of the time. And, she was also did all my meal prep. So she, again, may not agree with some of my things that I do, but she supports me on it.
Mm.
And, I took second place in the master's division, which was exciting and great. And it's so funny because every time, like, my dad always wants to send awards to every time I do these different things. So he was on the phone. He was in Florida. He couldn't make it in for the show, but he was in, and he would wait for my wife to text him to let me know if I placed so that he could send an award to
Oh.
the house. But only if I placed, only if I took, first, second, or third place.
So there's no participation trophy from your
No,
dad.
nope, nope. I always tell him that I have to place. I have to have earned it. I don't want to just participate. I want to earn it.
Yeah. So you don't set small goals. What
No.
about in your real estate career? How are you setting goals in real estate? Because there's a lot of people that I've met that are like, okay, I did 100,000 this year. Next year I'll do 110. So they've got a
Yeah.
little bit of an increase.
So I'm a little different that way. So I remember when I first, started as a realtor, and I spoke to the broker, and I really liked this guy. He was great. He really helped me out a lot. And I said to him, I said, look, I said, I need to make, six figures my first year. I said, because, that's what I need. I mean, this is what, and he's like, well, Rob, your first year of real estate, you're, you're going to be lucky to do maybe, 30, 40, 50,000 your first year until you build yourself up. I said, no, you don't understand. I says, I will do six figures. I need to do six figures. He's like, all right, I'll do my best to help make that happen. And, after that, it was like, okay, some people set a goal of doing, like you said, 130, 140, 150. To me, it's no, I need to do 200, 250, 300. Um, it's never a small amount. I mean, typically my main goal is to always 10x it. That's my goal, 10x it. Is that always going to happen? No, of course not. But as long as I commit to 10x, I know that I'm going to at least 2, 3, or 4x it as well. Um, and yeah, I got that from Grant Cardone. I mean, he's that's the guy who I got that from. I read a lot of books and I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and it's the one thing I like that he said is to always 10x what you're doing. And, that's what I did.
Are there any good books that you're reading right now, Rob?
Uh, let's see. I just finished, I'm trying to think of which one it was. Oh man, I'm trying to think now. Hold on one second here. I'm going to tell you which one I just finished. It was actually a really good book, and let me see here. Oh, here we go. It was Nine Figure Mindset by Brandon Dawson.
Okay.
And his book was really interesting about, always having, that nine figure mindset in mind and how he went about it. I'm also reading a lot of books now on rentals and managing properties and things like that, just trying to get better ideas of how to manage my properties with my wife, and how to do, you know, different things in specifically related to real estate.
So what do you need to change to have a 9-figure mindset? What does that look like for you?
You know, part of my problem is letting go. And
Mm,
like with my deals, I always I stay involved on my deals from the beginning to the end. And the transactions, even the small things, I don't have like a lot of realtors have a transaction coordinator. Once they've got the deal under contract, the coordinator takes over and manages it. I don't, because I know that if I do it, I know that deal is going to go through and there's not going to be any problems. So I need to
mm.
start letting go more of some of those things so that I can concentrate on the larger things and building my brokerage as well with my business partner. And that's what he's been pushing me to do. My wife's been pushing me to do. So everybody's pushing me to do it, including my agents. I need to let go of certain things, and that's a problem for me, but I'm working on it.
I have I have I'd like to kind of wrap things up a little bit. I've been often through our conversation today, you've talked about your dad, and I can just get the sense that there's a good relationship with your dad. And, that's something that not everybody gets to enjoy. My brother actually yesterday asked me a question that I don't think anybody had asked me before. And he asked me, what was the one most impactful thing that dad taught you? And so I would love to know, as you look back on your relationship with your dad, is there one thing, I'll even give you the benefit of maybe two or three things if we can't boil it down to one, But is there one thing that if you looked at, you'd be like, that has been the most important, the most influential thing that my dad has taught me?
Whew. I mean, I think my dad has taught me two things, I would say, and my mom as well. But I think my dad has taught me two things most important. One is to never give up, to never let anybody tell you you can't do something. And also, he taught me love, how to know that you're with the right person. And um, the relationship like that my dad has with my wife is, it's not really a daughter-in-law, it's a daughter.
Mm.
He treats her like a daughter, and she treats him like a dad. And you know, we try to get there every quarter to see my dad. Like, we're actually heading out there next week to go see my dad. So that's what he taught me. And him be turning 90 in January, spending as much time as I can with him is really important to me. My mom passed away years ago
Mm.
at a young age. She was 67 when she passed away, and hardest thing I ever had to go through in my life. And my dad, of course, and seeing my dad go through that, um, you know, I how he's been able to overcome that is just given me strength to, overcome it as well. Of course, we'll never overcome it always thinking about her, but just being able to move on and, live life the best you can. And that's just it. I mean, you don't know how long we're going to be here for. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to live every day to the fullest and do everything that I can in this time that I have on Earth. And that's going to be, you know, it's going to be flying, it's going to be aviation, it's going to be being with my wife, it's going to be being with my friends and family. And it's going to be becoming the success that I want to succeed in.
My dad always said, Alan, remember the little things. And I think those are a couple of little things that you've just shared that can make a huge impact on anyone's life. I think love, certainly in all of its flavors and varieties, but learning how to love each other, love your spouse, love your kids, certainly transformational, and also not quitting. And I can see how impactful that's been for you. And I love your perspective on that. I lost my mom or my dad when he was 66. So I understand what it's like to lose a parent when they're young. I read recently a quote that I've thought a lot about. It's this: that you never know how soon it's going to be too late. And just the importance of spending time with the people that you love. And I think if there's any takeaway from this, I think you're exemplifying that demonstrating that love and that relationship with your dad, and also not quitting. I think there's a lot of places along the way where you could have quit, Rob, and look where just paying attention to what your dad taught you, what he exemplified, has brought you. If there's anybody who would like to get in touch with you, would like to work with you, is curious about flying, real estate, how do we put them in contact with you, Rob?
So feel free to reach out to me at, you can reach me at my real estate site, which is Art of Real Estate, and that's two R's. So it's ARRT of realestate.com. Or you could also email me at robert at ARRT of realestate.com. And I do want to thank you, Alan, for having me on the show today. And I really appreciate talking about this with you.
Rob, it's been so wonderful to have you on the Plain Success podcast. I hope the rest of your week is equally awesome.
Same for you as well. Thank you.